Hello, everyone. Welcome back to BrandsTalk. You want to develop and grow your brand in a more authentic and sustainable way, locally and globally, whether it is your personal brand or company brand, your product or service level brand, then you are at the right place. Learn from thought leaders from different parts of the world, from CEOs, business owners, managers, and experts who are in the spotlight to tell their brand stories and share their firsthand insights. My name is Brigitte Bakowski. I'm the founder and owner of Bridget Brands, a branding strategy boutique offering online courses, workshops, and one-on-one exclusive coaching. I help my clients craft meaningful branding strategies that they can unleash their full potential to effectively elevate their personal or organizational brands and shine. So let's get started and dive with me into the world of brands. My guest today is Amy Throw. Amy is an executive presence and leadership coach, author, speaker, and award-winning entrepreneur. As the creator of her signature process, the Full Circle 7 method of executive presence and leadership, she helps women create breakthroughs to make their professional dream come true. She empowers women to become respected leaders who are admired and trusted by others. She's a certified John Maxwell Leadership coach and facilitator with a background in organizational development, leadership, sales, and executive image. Amy helps leaders discover their unique genius zones, hone their leadership skills, and unleash a powerful executive presence. With her guidance, women transform into the powerful, influential leaders they were born to be. She helps them successfully navigate the shift from self-focused to others-focused, tactical to strategic, and manager to leader. I warmly welcome Amy Throw. Welcome to BrandsTalk.
Oh, good morning. It's wonderful to be here.
It's wonderful having you, Amy. So how is it in the United States? I think you are 7 hours back.
Yes, it's beautiful today. I'm in the Chicago area, and after 46 days of no sun and uh, cold weather, we have warmth and sun, and everything's budding. So it's beautiful.
Fine. The same in Austria here. It's sunny, it's warm, so yeah, it's easy to enjoy life these days.
Indeed.
All right,
Yes.
so let's jump right into our discussion. You bring more than 20 years of experience leading teams and businesses from corporate roles to family businesses. So, where did this all start? Would you like to share a little bit of your personal journey with us that brought you right there to where you are now?
Sure. Yes. Well, I started out in sales and branch management for an international staffing and recruiting firm, Adecco, based in Switzerland, and really discovered early on that I loved sales and I was good at it. And I also really enjoyed managing people. And then I spent some time in the outplacement world, helping executives who had been downsized or right sized find new positions that were great for their skills. And then I spent some time as a sales training manager for a medical labeling company. And during that time, I got my master's in organizational development. I've always been fascinated by how organizations change. And I wanted to, the reason I chose organizational development is that it's different than consulting. So, consultants, the big four and consultants, typically go into an organization, do all their research, and then tell the organization what's wrong
Mhm.
and tell the organization how to fix it. And I've been in enough organizations to see that if the people and the human beings in the organization weren't a part of the process, they weren't really going to buy in and they were going to go through the motions. And I don't think that makes sense. And so I really was fascinated by organizational development because the organizational development field has the mindset that the people within the organization have the answers. They just might not know it yet. And so as an OD consultant, my job is to go in and ask the right questions of the right people and gather the data and facilitate conversations and dialogues so that they can discover what the key issues are. And then I help them create the solutions to help them meet their goals. And there's so much more buy-in in that. And also, it really builds community. It builds relationships. It builds accountability into the process. And so not only are people, there's more buy-in, but also people get to know one another on a deeper level and they connect as human beings. And it's much easier to link arms when you see someone as a fellow human being versus, in a different department or at a higher level. And so that's why I wanted to get into organizational development.
Yeah, I so much agree with you. It's more being a coach consultant because
Yes.
kind of elicit everything what they don't know that they know. Yeah, it's
Yes.
coming from them, and it's so much easier than to take it again. Yeah, for
Yes.
them to take it again, to take the solution again they actually came up with. Yeah.
Yes.
We just
Yeah.
help them, we give them a guiding hand and help them to really understand the real picture and put the things together into a viable strategy, I would say so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And to really create a safe space for them to have dialogue and have differing opinions in the process of coming up with the solution. And if there's not someone who can kind of facilitate things and guide things and create that safe space, then people are always going to hold back.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Wonderful. Great. So that is really unbelievable what you're doing, and I want to dig deeper into that. But first, I want to talk about how you got there, what you're doing in detail. So you're still part-time with Cabby Clothing
Yes.
as a sales business unit leader. But then in 2017, you started your own company, Amy Throw
Yes.
Rope.
Yes.
So you are kind of juggling two different things. So
Yes.
how does that work? And how did you come up starting your own business? What was your intention? Was this always a dream of yours? Please tell us about that.
Yes, that's a great question. Well, I had I was home with my kids. I have 3 sons who are now grown. Wanted to make that decision to be home with them for a while, and also was relocated to Santiago, Chile, with my husband for a year. So there was kind of a natural break in the work life, the corporate work life, and then I started the Cabby business because I wanted to have something that was flexible, but I really, really missed using my skills and building business and relating with people. And so I've done that for a long time. But as my youngest son, who just graduated from college 2 days ago,
Yeah.
when he was a junior in high school, I just had this desire within me to really go back and reconnect with all of my corporate experience and my OD experience. I've been in sales and sales training for all of my career, even with Cabby. And I knew that I was going to have more time. And I just had this burning desire to create something different and leverage all of the skills and experience that I had and bring it to the world in a new way. And so I took about a year actually to do some self-discovery. I took a career development class. I interviewed a lot of people. And what I realized during that time was that I've probably spent 10,000 hours in my life coaching. I just wasn't paid for it before I opened my business. That I think it's Malcolm Gladwell who talks about 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
And I realized that I've been doing that my whole life.
Mhm.
And so that led me on the next step to decide that that's really what I wanted to do in conjunction with my training and development and leadership and facilitation background. And so that's what led me to get my coaching and leadership certification with the John Maxwell organization in 2017. And then I really have a passion for working with women. I do work with men, but I really have a desire to help women and empower them. And so that's when I kind of decided I'm going to really dig deep into who I am, what I offer, and what is my brand going to be. And that's when I decided to really focus on empowering women born to lead. They might not realize they're born to lead, so I help them discover that. And I also have a background in theater, and my background in image and style, I really got interested in the whole idea of executive presence, because I think that that's something I've probably had most of my life, even though I didn't realize it. And I did a lot of reading and research on executive presence, and I think that it's a term that is tossed around in the corporate suites, but many times people can't really define it. They'll say, oh, I'll know it when I see it. Well, how is someone, a woman, who is looking to move up in her organization and needs to develop executive presence, how is she going to develop it if no one can say, this is what it is, this is what it looks like, this is what you need to do? I mean, I'll know it when I see it. That doesn't help the person who needs to develop it. So then I developed my own method and model for executive presence.
Okay, so we are jumping right into it because that was my next question to ask you. To have an executive presence and a personal brand, yeah, when you are invited to the room where it happens. So I would like you to dig a little deeper. So what do you mean by that executive? What is
Yes,
executive presence on one hand, and
yes,
what does it mean to you? Because he also said, what is my brand? So what is
yes,
your personal brand? What do you mean by that? So first of all, what is executive presence? And then what is a personal brand in your
yes,
opinion? Please.
yes. And executive presence is, in a nutshell, it is being grounded in who you are, knowing what your unique skills and experience and genius zones are. And when I say genius zone, what I mean is most of us have things that we're really, really naturally gifted at, and we think everyone can do it because it comes easy to us.
Mhm.
And usually those are the things that stand out to other people, but we don't understand that because it comes natural to us. So I think, going through some exercises and some assessments to really discover what that is so that you can see that unique value that you bring in addition to your resume and your schooling and education. So executive presence is partially that. It's knowing who you are and what you can bring. It's having gravitas, which is an old Roman word uh, for dignity and weight, as in not weight as in body weight, but being a person of substance,
Mhm.
being someone that people respect.
Mhm.
Managing your own mindset comes into executive presence. Knowing how to communicate, whether it's one-on-one, in small groups, or in big public situations, knowing how to craft an email,
Yeah.
all the things that every message you send, every conversation you have, every email you send sends a message about who you are. And that's another piece of executive presence.
Mhm.
Having social and emotional intelligence is huge. I mean, I've worked with people in the past who are the brightest, most well-educated people in the world and smartest. And sometimes those people don't get ahead because they aren't self-aware and they haven't developed emotional and social intelligence. And those are the things, the nuanced skills that really get you to the next level, because you can't lead other people. You can't lead organizations if you are not socially and emotionally intelligent and self-aware.
Yeah, it's like this opening up, showing your true self, being really authentic, being pure, being vulnerable, because then you connect with the people. It's your humanity that is shining
Yes.
through the emails or whatever communication you're having with
Yes.
the audience, isn't it?
Yes. I also think I do believe in authenticity and showing up as your true self. I often coach my clients, especially when they're stepping into a senior level role, is I use the term appropriate authenticity.
Mm.
So you're the leader and you need to set the tone.
Yeah.
And so the way I describe it is if you're going to be authentic and vulnerable, that's important, but show your scars, not your wounds.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, it also means that you're able to lead yourself first before you can lead anyone else. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mastery is
Good.
important.
So that is more or less executive presence. And how does that go along with personal branding, with the personal brand, which is the other key that is
Right.
important when you are entering a room where it happens? So, how does
Yes.
that play into that?
Yes. Well, when I think of personal brand, I really like to think of it, my term for it is your own brand signature.
Mhm.
Because when you think about your actual written signature, which we hardly use anymore because everything's digital, but think about your signature is unique to you. And when you get a letter from a friend and you see his or her handwriting, you immediately know who it's from. And so when I think about personal brand, I think about what is your brand signature? How do you show up? How do you want to be known? How do you want people to talk about you when you're not in the room? So that is everything from your appearance, because the way you dress sends a message, and it's not about style and fashion. It's not about being a fashionista. What it is about is using your attire almost like a wardrobe or a costume in a play to communicate the message of who you are and what people can expect. Because you and I both know first impressions are formed within 7 seconds or less, and they're lasting. And if you think about it, you haven't even opened your mouth yet.
Mm.
So I call it an inside out job from the outside in. So you start with your attire and your appearance, because that signals something. And then, how do you want to show up? Do you want to be known as the challenger? Do you want to be known as the, creative thinker, the strategic thinker? Are you known as the person who's going to ask wise, reflective questions? Just kind of think about how you want to be seen and remembered and thought of. And so once you decide what that is, you then intentionally choose to show up that way all the time.
Mhm.
Even when if you're back in the office, which not everyone is yet, but, even when you show up at a meeting, you know, are you flustered? Are you disorganized? Have you had a bad day at home? Well, if you have to find a way to kind of take care of that, contain it so that you can show up and be on brand.
Mhm. Mhm. That's beautiful. So, do you have some pieces of advice, like one, two, three different tips that you can give, especially women, how they can be their best self? So, to take that all into consideration when entering
Yes.
where it all happens.
Yeah. So I would say a couple of things. Number one, this is, I learned this early on in my career, and I think it still holds true. You always should dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have.
Mhm.
And again, the outer appearance is not the most important thing, but in our competitive environment, if your visual appearance doesn't align with the job that you're looking for, you're not going to be invited to the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if senior leaders can't see you and envision you in that role, there's a lot of other people who look the part. They may not have the skills that you do, but if, again, first impressions, if they can't see you in that role, you're not going to have a chance to be considered.
Yeah. You're out of the game before you even started. Yeah.
Yes. So your appearance is the lens by which people see you, and it either opens doors for you or it closes them. So that's number one. Number two, I think it's really important, especially for women, to take the time to do the self-reflection and really become clear on what their particular genius zones are. And I have an exercise I can share with you after this, after our live. Um, so be clear on what those things are. Your resume speaks for itself. Your job experience, that's people can always have access to that. But until you are clear on what your unique genius zones are that show up in every situation, you can't message that. And it also gives you confidence to have courage to ask for the new job, to ask for the project.
Yeah, make some introspection,
It,
some deep soul work. And it takes time. You said it
it,
took you like a year. Me too. So it's really a
yes,
process and it's something that you cannot rush.
you
It's
can't.
evolve, right?
Yeah. I mean, I use the analogy often of if you've ever painted a room in your home, it takes 3 days to prep the room and 2 hours to paint it. But if you didn't prep it, it wouldn't be a good paint job. So
Yeah.
you have to invest the time in that self-reflection and self-discovery.
And one more point. This was now
Yeah.
the appearance and the self-reflection. And if there
Yes.
would be one more.
My third tip would be it's not confidence that women need, it's courage. We're not going to just show up one day and have confidence, especially when we're looking to do something new, because the amygdala in our brain is ancient, and there's scientific research that proves that the amygdala doesn't know if you're facing a tiger or something you've never done before. And so anytime you try to do something new, ask for promotion, take on a new role, you're gonna have fear because that's the way you're wired.
Yeah.
And so people always say, oh, I just see more confidence. And I say, no, you need courage. You need to be courageous to take the next step. And you're going to feel the fear, but you need to be courageous and take the next step. And the confidence will be built as you step out and start doing something new. And then you will build the confidence. But it's courage that comes first.
Yeah, especially the first step is so important because once you have done that, you see you can do it. And that gives you the confidence that you can do it. So you kind of build up and
Yes.
walking your path, leaving your footprint and doing your
Yes.
thing. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of having a clear vision where you want to go. You have your facts, but you also go with your intuition. You need to combine both and then go it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I think these are very, very great tips that our audience can already take away and put right into action. And I have another really interesting question to ask. It's about relationship-based sales, because you say you are a strategic thinker, executive leadership coach, learning and development specialist, and a sales coach at heart. So, and since childhood, you have loved encouraging and equipping others in this strategic and intentional manner, right? And you bring proven principles and this creative problem solving to your clients. So
Yes.
you're really successful in this relationship based sales. So, what
Yes.
is that defined? Because it's a term, we might have different thoughts about it. So, can you
Yes.
explain it?
Yes. And it's just a term that I use to describe. So I think that there is still residual subconscious thinking in many people's minds, especially women. I don't know what it's like in Europe, but I encounter this every day in America, that sales is a dirty word and sales is not a noble profession.
Yeah, yeah.
I disagree 100%, but I think it's because people have different definitions. So, in my opinion, sales is the practice of helping other people get what they need, and you are helping them with your product or service to get what they need. So you're not trying to push something on them. You're trying to discover what are the problems they need to solve. What are the gaps? What have they tried before that isn't working? And by discovering that and building a relationship with another human being in the process, you can then determine if your product or service is the right thing to help them. And so it's a noble profession if you have the right intentions.
Mm,
And you have to remember that when you are selling, you are building a relationship with another person. You're getting to know them. You're getting to understand them. You know, so when I say relationship based sales, I mean just that. It's the process of getting to know the human being first and then figuring out if your product is the right thing to help them. And so that's really important. And I believe that that's what has helped me be successful in sales because I care about the people first. And if I'm willing to say at the end of a discovery, maybe you've talked to a potential client for months and you discover at the end of the process that what you offer maybe isn't exactly what they need. And that's okay
mm.
if your ultimate goal is to help them get what they need.
So the first thing is to establish a relationship, to connect
Yes.
with the potential client on a visceral level and feel the emotions and feel into this person what they really need, and then try to bring what you have with the client together. So offering something that is a solution for that particular client.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, are there some like pitfalls that in such a process we really should avoid? Yeah, when it comes to selling.
Well, I think when it comes to selling in general, and this is what I've learned over the course of my life in sales, um, a desperate salesperson it's never good to be desperate because you're going to push things that might not be the best for the client, and 100% they're going to sense your energy. So you have to really manage your own thinking, manage your own process, find a way to become calm and centered and grounded. That's number one. That's a big pitfall.
Mm.
The second pitfall is trying to rush the process, because in trying to rush the process, you will miss signals and cues that actually are there to help you move forward in the process. But if you're trying to rush it and you're not completely present and listening when you ask questions, you're going to miss things.
Mm.
Um, and I think the third pitfall that I've seen with salespeople is they talk more than they listen. We have two ears and one mouth And that applies to all things in life, but especially in sales. You have to do a lot more listening in the early stages than talking.
Yeah. Listening what their problem is and how they feel, and then approach them from there, pick them up from there where they are to get an understanding, right? To get the full
Be
picture.
curious. Just continue to be curious and ask questions.
Mm.
Yes.
All right, Amy, I like to ask my guests about any experience they had that was a major learning for them. Any detour or setback or challenge that really was so important for you to grow from, that shaped you and is still shaping you going forward. Is there any that you can think of?
Hmm. Well, yes, there is. And it's actually a personal one, but it really has impacted who I am and everything I do in business and in my professional life. Um, After my third son was born, I experienced some pretty significant clinical depression, and it took a couple of years to come out of that. Um, and what I learned through that process is a couple of things. I learned to ask for help. I'm a firstborn type A, high achiever, goal driven person. And really wasn't great at asking for help. Um, and how that translates into the business world is you have to collaborate. You have to let people know when you're at the end of your skill set and you need to bring someone else in.
Mm.
The second thing that going through that experience did for me is it really helped me in later years after I had come out of it. I have a different lens in which I experience and look at people through, and I'm able to really understand that that's another human being who has their own challenges. And so I really try to come alongside people and walk with them and support them and encourage them. And I don't mean like cheerleader, rah, rah, you're great, but kind of meet them where they are. And I can understand, even if might not be the same thing that they're going through, I can understand what a kind of a desperate situation feels like. And so I'm able to, yeah, walk alongside them
Mm.
as a human being and a client.
Okay, wow. Yeah, these detours are really important for us because it shows where our focus is, and it shows where we can really make a difference in the world, because it's something that we are asked to do, we are asked to follow up.
Yeah.
And yeah, and for you, it's really helping women and empowering women to become powerful executives and have the presence, right? So, would you like to talk a little bit about your products and services that you are offering, how you do that, and whom is this interesting for?
Yes. So I would say most of my clients are either mid to senior level women in corporate who are either looking to get promoted or have just stepped into a new role. And this always happens. They step into the new role that they've wanted forever, and their confidence disappears, and they get the imposter syndrome, and they forget that they were asked to come into the room and people want them there. So those would be, from a corporate perspective. And I'm often hired by individuals. I'm often hired by, the senior HR team and talent development. I also work with female business owners. And where that really comes into play is typically they are very successful, but they feel very alone. They
Yeah.
have no one to really process things with in a safe place, because unless it's their board, everyone in their organization reports to them. And so they can't really talk about some of the challenges and struggles that they're having without causing fear in other people. And so I really come in and am their trusted advisor, their strategic thinking partner, to help them work through some of those challenges that they can't do in another way and come up with solutions, and then hold them accountable to move forward with those solutions.
Good. Yeah, one last question I do have still on my agenda is, do you have any key branding essentials for those? Because you went through this whole process of starting a business, building your own brand. Do you have any, let's say, tips, especially for women starting their own business, something that they also can take away right away and say, be
Yes,
careful,
absolutely.
need to
Absolutely.
consider that.
So for women who are looking to start their business in terms of branding, what I see and what I experience, what I went through and what I see with so many women is we get so caught up in what are the colors going to be? What's our logo going to be? What is our website going to look like? And it's so easy before you've launched your own business to really get caught up in that. It is important, but it's not as important as we think it is. And we spend so much time worrying about that. And so what I would say is get some advice, pick some branding colors, pick a logo, and move forward, and really focus more on getting clear on who your ideal client is, because if you don't know who that is, you can't market and sell and talk to them. And that takes time. So get clear on who your ideal client is. Once you understand that, get clear on how you can serve them and how you can help them. And everything you put together in terms of your services and your offerings is going to fall from that. So that's actually more important than the outer stuff. That would be my tips and advice.
Perfect. I love that. Absolutely. Totally agree. I couldn't have said it better. All right. So we are almost at the end. Do you have some time for a quick word wrap? So
Sure.
ask you a term and you give me a quick answer. That would be awesome. All right. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. Mindset.
Critical.
Voice.
Get clear first on who you are, and then it will be easy to have a voice.
Wow. Executive.
Someone responsible for really leading humans in an organization to have a greater impact in the world through their business or services.
Women in leadership.
We need more.
And brains.
The internal characteristics of the brand are more important than the external.
Wow, great. Thank you. Amy, where can listeners find you? I'm sure they'll want to get in touch with you.
Absolutely. They can find me here on LinkedIn at Amy Throw. They can find me on Facebook at Amy Throw Group. They can find me on Instagram at Amy_Throw. And they can find me on my website, amythrow.com.
Great. Amy, thank you so much for being my guest today on BrandsTalk Live. It was a pleasure having you to learn about the keys of being invited to the room where it happens. It's executive presence and a strong personal brand. Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much.
It's been a joy.
Thank you. All right. So thank you all for joining BrandsTalk today. Give it your social love and leave your comments below. And did you know you can also listen to this show as a podcast on your go? Just follow BrandsTalk on your favorite platform. And if you're interested in my services, then please head over to my website, bridgetbrands.com. I hope you will I hope you will join me again when we dive into the world of brands live or by having me in your earbuds walking the talk. Bye for now. Let's shine. You deserve it.